Welcome to Accelerate My Practice. So glad you could join me here today. Wanted to join you from the NCAA tournament because I love some of the storylines of the NCAA tournament. I love some of it's kind of like the Olympics to me, except it's, I don't know, I really dig the March Madness theme. And I wanted to really talk about one team and their level of excitement because my bracket is busted, sadly, along with everybody else. I understand of all the brackets that were put in at the beginning, 1 out of like 8 million brackets is still alive. I don't know whose it is. But whoever that person is, they're obviously clairvoyant. You know, what's interesting to me is the story of all these kids, how much heart and passion they put into the game, how hard they work. You can see it. What's exciting to me about watching March Madness versus, say, the NBA, which I'm not really a fan of, is how much these people dig. I mean, there is passion, drama, down to the very last moment of almost every game. And to me in life, it's not about how you start it, it's about how you finish it. And, you know, totally true when it comes to some of these NCAA games because some of these things are finished in like the last 6 seconds. I mean, it kills me to see a team who's down by 3 points, they got 6 seconds left, the ball's on the wrong side of the court, and somehow they come on down and score and tie it or win, or depending on what the scenario is. And it's unbelievable, the buzzer beaters. However, the UCONN Huskies women's basketball team, there's not much for buzzer beaters with them. What's fascinating about them is their track record as of late. 109 games won straight. I mean, that is a streak beyond a streak. You know, with 30-some games a year, that's like a 3-year winning streak. That's amazing. That's beyond amazing to me. They're ranked number 1. This season, they're 34-0, obviously still undefeated. And not only have they won, but they've dominated the people they've won. 106 double-digit wins in the last 130 or 109 wins. I mean, that's not close. That's not a buzzer beater. That's destroying your competition. And while looking at some of those, I mean, some of their victories were, 40-point victories, ridiculous. But even some of the close ones with some of the top-ranked teams aren't close. You know, when I look at their top 5 opponents, you know, they beat Baylor, they beat Notre Dame, they beat Maryland, and some of those are obviously top teams as well. So it's interesting to me to see a team that for about 3 years now has been performing to such a high level. And it really has me sitting there wondering, how could I duplicate that in my business? How could I help you duplicate that in your business? You know, how do you recruit that sort of talent so that you never lose? And I realize at some point this is going to come to an end because it can't continue for forever. But still, 3 years of never losing, that is a streak beyond a streak. So the question is, what's the secret to their success? And there was an interview done by their coach last year at the end of the NCAA tournament. And it was fascinating to listen to this interview and really think about what this guy has to say. I mean, this guy is, at this point, on a 2-year win streak, just won the tournament 2 years in a row, if I'm not mistaken. And to hear what he has to say about recruiting talent, to me, is a little shocking. And it might have you sitting there scratching your head going, maybe I should look at how I manage my team, because really that's what we do as well, right? We're all managing our own teams. You know, our team is not a basketball team, it's a dental team. And our opponent is decay. Our opponent is insurance companies. Our opponent is Apple. Our opponent is a whole lot of things. And the question is, do we give up? Do we persevere? Do we win? Are we victorious? And it's fascinating to me to watch all of this unfold and see how it all works. And the question is, will you win at the buzzer? Whatever your buzzer might be. So I want to watch this interview. It's about 2 minutes long, then we'll come back and we'll chat about it.
Recruiting enthusiastic kids is harder than it's ever been. Because every kid watches TV and they watch the NBA, or they watch Major League Baseball, or they watch the NFL, whatever sport they watch, WNBA, it doesn't matter. And what they see is people just being really cool. So they think that's how they're going to act. and they haven't even figured out which foot to use as a pivot foot, and they're going to act like they're really good players. You see it all the time. You see it at every AAU tournament. You see it every high school game. So recruiting kids that are like really upbeat and loving life and love the game and have this tremendous appreciation for when their teammates do something well, that's hard. That's hard. It's really hard. So on our team, me, my coaching staff, we put a huge premium on body language. And if your body language is bad, you will never get in the game. Ever. I don't care how good you are. If somebody says, well, you just benched Stewie for, 35 minutes in the Memphis game a couple years ago. Yeah, I did. Oh, that was to motivate her for the South Carolina game the following Monday. No, it wasn't. Stewie was acting like a 12-year-old. So I put her on the bench and said, sit there. It doesn't matter on our team. Now, the other coaches might say, well, you can do that because you got 3 other, All-Americans. I get that. I understand that. But I'd rather lose than watch kids play the way some kids play. I'd rather lose. And they're allowed to get away with just whatever. And they're always thinking about themselves. Me, 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 me. I didn't score, so why should I be happy? I'm not getting enough minutes. Why should I be happy? That's the world that we live in today, unfortunately. And kids check the scoreboard sometimes because they're going to get yelled at by their parents if they don't score enough points. Don't get me started. So when I look at my team, they know this. When I watch game film, I'm checking what's going on the bench. And if somebody's asleep over there, somebody doesn't care, somebody's not engaged in the game, they will never get in the game. Ever. And they know that. They know I'm not kidding.
I think about why this guy's had such a track record of success for 109 wins. I can tell you that's why. He holds his team to a standard of performance. He holds himself to a standard of performance, his coaching staff to a standard of performance. And there is no tolerance if you're not willing to meet that standard of performance. And the challenge, as he said, is there's all these people who just want to be cool, who just want to do the in thing, who just want to whatever. But that doesn't lead to results. So the question is, who's your opponent? Who's your opponent in your bracket, so to speak? Who are you fighting? Are you fighting your own team? Because I promise you, that guy's not fighting his own team. That's a leader. That is a leader who the team clearly understands who's in control. And there's no question about what they're going to do. He's very decisive, and he follows through. And that's where I find so many people, so many leaders, business leaders, trip and fall, myself included. We say this is the standard we're going to hold people to, but then do we force it and do we bench the person and make them sit? Probably not, sadly. Should we? Absolutely. If we did, would we get a different level of performance? For sure. One of the things I've said for years is people will perform to the level you expect of them. If you expect them to be mediocre and it's okay to be mediocre, they'll be mediocre and you'll get mediocre. If you're mediocre as the leader, they'll give you exactly the level you perform to yourself. So the challenge is, as you sit here looking at your men's bracket to see how they're doing, to see if your team's going to make it through, to see if your team's going to win, I'd start watching the people on the bench. I'd be curious to see if the team whose bench is the most engaged to support the people who are out on the court, does that make a difference? Obviously it does. Look around the room right now at your bench and see who's being engaged. See who's texting, see who's not paying attention, see who just got busted and is turning red. Because if they're not paying attention, especially those of you who hired us. Now you're watching this on YouTube and it's a free thing you're sort of doing. Yeah, maybe I get it, I don't know. But those of you who have hired us, if your own team's not paying attention to the content that you're paying to have us deliver about how to do more in your office, how to be victorious, man, I hope whoever just got caught has a real good reason or turns it around fast. Because you know what? The benefit of what this is you heard him talk about one of his players who he benched to make a point Not to motivate them for the next game, but to teach them something. You can coach people to perform at a higher level. You don't just have to fire people. That's not the right way to do it. I don't believe in it anyway. I think back to my coaching days. I used to coach actually a D3 cheerleading team. Yes, I know, make all the jokes you want. It's all cool. I'm fine with it now. But I used to coach this team, and what was interesting to me is I had this one kid. He was a very, very gifted kid. He's a stocky, strong guy, so he obviously had the strength to be able to do a lot of stuff. But he lacked this intelligence. And I always told people, don't ever go out on the court. Because we had 14,000 people at every single basket game. It was University of Dayton. 14,000. I mean, 12 on a poorly attended game. 14,000 on the big ones. And for a D3 school, or maybe it's D1, whatever it was. And so we had a heck of a crowd. So I'd always tell my people, do not ever go out and perform in front of a crowd and do anything that you can't do spectacularly. Because I don't want to ever see a girl hit the ground in front of 12,000 people. Because it's my neck that's on the line. So when tryouts came at the end of a season, he said, hey, what do you think I should do? Should I do this show-off thing, this cool thing, this? It's just what he was saying. And I said, I suggest you treat it like a game. So what did he do? He went and he showed off. He tried to do something really cool, and his girl came down. Thankfully, she didn't get hurt. But she came down and hit the ground. So I didn't take him. I cut my best player and said, nope, sorry, you can try out in the fall with the freshman team, and maybe we can move you up later, but nope, not going to take you. He's all devastated, upset, crying like one of the girls, not to be sexist, but it was pretty funny. And what was interesting is the next year, actually I didn't end up coaching that fall, I ended up leaving, and the next year he got on, and I get an email from him like 2 years later. Here's the irony. He sends me an email saying, hey, I actually decided to go to dental school. I'm not sure where he's at. Be interesting at some point. And he sends me an email saying, what I didn't understand at the time is I thought you were just being a dick. Apparently you can say dick on AMP TV and not get it bleeped out, by the way. But he said, I just thought you were being mean for some reason. You had it out for me, right? And he said, you know what I learned later? You were actually trying to prep me for life. I said, yeah, I was. I was trying to give you something that would be long-lasting, that you would learn how to hold yourself accountable, how to perform at a different level. Ironically, I've been living and teaching this for about 14, 15 years now. And I don't know where this young man's at. Probably a dentist somewhere, hopefully, if he learned a lesson. If he didn't, he failed out of dental school. But it'd be really interesting at some point to run into him. And if I ever get the chance, man, I'd love to bring him in here and interview him and talk about what that impact had. So do we need to fire someone who just got caught for not paying attention? No. Can we coach them up? Yeah, I think we can. I think you can take and make people who are average into incredible if you hold them to a standard, if you're willing to push them, and if you share your vision very clearly with them. And if you do all those things, you can be victorious. And you can be the one that's right there. I had to point the right way. It's backwards. I don't know how you guys work in mirrors. Right there, who's winning the national championship. And for you, the national championship is helping your patients get healthy, hitting your economic freedom, for yourself as the doctor, for your team to make more, for your team to be able to have a retirement plan, for everybody to have more fun, for everybody to succeed at a higher level than they ever dreamt possible. But I promise you, you do not get to that higher level by being average. You don't get to that higher level by daydreaming on the bench. You don't get to that higher level every time AMP TV comes on not paying attention. You want to get to that higher level of success than you ever dreamt possible, you better pay attention. And if you do, amazing things await you. So I hope your team wins because, Final Four is coming down this week for the men's tournament. And I hope that your team is the one that you want to see win. And enjoy the time because it's a blast to watch these kids' passion. And then look in the mirror and go, hey, am I passionate myself when I look in the mirror? Am I excited? Am I showing up that way? And if I'm not, maybe I should check my attitude. And if you do, great things will happen. Hope you enjoyed your time. Can't wait to see you 8 o'clock next week, 10 o'clock in the East Coast. Until then, have a great week. We'll talk to you later.
What if you could have the practice of your dreams. What's holding you back? Imagine a life where you have everything you ever wanted.